Well, that's super annoying. I don't know when the space call got turned off, but for whatever reason my space call shut down. I don't like that. That bothers me quite a bit actually. But we'll go ahead and just keep doing this. Here we go. It's working, people. Interesting. So we got people that have already bought 1,000 contracts on the January option chain. We had 50 people in the space call. Now I've been going for a couple minutes, and we just got our first person showing up. I don't know why the last space call ended, um, but if we go and we look at the option chain for January 19th, 2024, we see that the $2 strike increased 1,000 contracts. It was at 40 when I started the space call. We see that the 368 contracts in the $5 strike has gone up to 468 contracts. The 50-cent options are going up as well. Not my favorite, but that's still okay. More options, the better. I have no idea why the last space call just ended. I definitely did not end it, so I apologize about that. Um, but ultimately, what I was getting into is the data. The data says that before the GameStop first squeeze, we were at a 52-week high. Before the GameStop second squeeze, we were at a 52-week high. Before the AMC or second squeeze, I guess we call it, because it kind of squoze with the first squeeze of GameStop. But when AMC squoze by itself, the SPX was at a 52-week high, and currently we are. Where are we? We're at 45.3206, and so we are 46.10 is the 52-week high. So we're less than $80 away from the 52-week high. We're about $78 away, and $78 is about a percent, 1.6%, maybe 1.7%. Not very much. That could definitely all happen in a day. Um, so that would probably be one of the biggest reasons you should be bullish. Is like you shouldn't really be expecting the MULN squeeze until you see the day that the SPX hits the 52-week high, and then you should be thinking either that day or, I mean, I guess maybe it's possible it could get started a little bit a day before, but either that day or the coming day after, we should be seeing something massive. And so we're literally just one more big day from being at those 52 weeks high, which sends MULN a rocking and a rolling. Um, Again, if we go back to the volume for MULN is doing well right now. Since we started the space call, we've gotten over, looks like probably 1.5 thousand contracts on the January 19th, 2024 option chain. And yeah, let's get more on there. The $5 strike still at 1 penny a contract. I want to see 10,000 freaking volume on that, unless the 1 cent goes to 2 cents. But you got to keep buying that until you force the 1 cent to 2 cent. And if it doesn't get forced, just keep on buying. Keep on buying. If they wanted you to buy that, they would have let that be 1 penny a contract 3 weeks ago, like it should have been mathematically. But instead, they waited until the very, very end, right before the squeeze, so that I could be wrong for 3 weeks and then come back and start pushing it, and you guys could all be skeptical. Skeptical as to why it wasn't 1 penny 3 weeks ago, and then skeptical as, oh, if it wasn't when he said it was, why is it going to work now? It's because all the stars are aligned now. We got all the bulls coming in and trying to claim the glory by starting this anti-reverse split, knowing they were never going to win it to begin with, because the only reason they won the last reverse split is because there was one share that was worth 1 billion votes. And this time, that's not true. It's a fact of life, Ed and Eddie. Fact of life. Let's see here. Something's wrong with my internet, it would seem. I don't think Harge is willing to talk to me. He only talks to fake people. You would never come talk to someone that's going to ask him real questions. Like for him to come on and say all EVs are bad so that he doesn't have to look like the enemy of Mullen. It's just clear and obvious. Clear and obvious what his intentions are. Yeah, my phone seems to be acting up or something because it is struggling right now to let me look at things while I talk to you. Interesting. Um, let's see here. Looks like we might got a requester to speak. Hustler, what you got for me? What up, Hustler?
What's up, Marcus? How's everything going?
Good, good, good. Today's the day
I
people can
just
start
wanted to let you
YOLOing,
know.
so I'm here pumping.
Yeah, I just bought like you said, I just bought some $5 calls, $1,000 worth for the 24th. You know, 124. I just bought $1,000 worth.
You bought so it was at the $5 strike or the $2 strike?
$5 strike.
What strike did you buy?
$5 strike.
Nice, nice. You said a thousand. You said for you said $1,000 or 1,000 contracts. What'd you say?
1,000 contracts. Yep,
Nice.
1,000.
Well, it won't show up on my side for another 15 minutes, but I will be looking for that. So we're looking at the volume, and it should be going from 469 to 1,500. But I appreciate that, man. That's what we're looking for here. Um, like what we want is everybody that's listening to this space call. If you got $100, like go throw $100 at those $5 strikes for a penny a contract. Like that's the type of stuff that I can pump. That's the type of stuff that I can make videos on and show that people are believing, people are putting their money where their mouth is. And again, most people that see this will not be able to buy options and will have no interest in buying options, but they will say, if these motherfuckers are buying options, then I'm buying stock. And that is how you make this happen. And I don't know, you look at a lot of people posting saying that like they did come up with these extra warrants out of the nowhere, but if you math them out, like they're down to like 20 million shares, people, and that goes away in a day if we get a good pump. But I appreciate you coming up here to spread the good word, brother.
You got it.
I'm telling you, all we need is get more and more people. $100 at a time, $1,000 at a time. Like we all know, you guys lost a lot more than all that. Like $100 is nothing compared to what we've already lost. Selling $100 of your stock to buy options gets more stock bought by retailers. I promise. But everyone do what they feel comfortable with. We'll see who's right in the end.
Yeah, Marcus. When you think it start running, what do you think it's gonna run to?
As far as how high the price goes, it's hard for me to speculate on that until after I see how the price action goes. So, for example, like AMC, I didn't know how high it was going to go exactly, but I could tell by the price action we saw when I thought the high was. And so, for example, it ran up 20% 4 days in a row, and then it dropped 10%, and then the next day ran back up from where it dropped, and then on that following Monday, it ran up 100%. And that told me that like they sold enough and now they're trying to do their final pump to get a lot of people to sell all in a single day. And that is the same point where, like, I set a big short on the puts and made 600% in less than 3 hours off trading puts because, like, it was clear and obvious that we hit a top. And I mean, it was clear and obvious that retail kept buying after that, and that other people kept coming in, but we missed the boat by a little bit based off how much dilution they were using and all the insider selling from going and finding a new high. So with Mullen, I don't really like to give a price right now, just because the price that I feel like we deserve is so fucking high that like it it won't make sense to people when I say it. But I also think that the price could come so quickly that like no one's gonna miss it. And so what I would like to say is you should be buying and you should be holding. For the most part, you should be have a mindset you want to hold as much as you can, as long as you can, until at least the end of this year. Because if there's no other promises that we've received, one promise we did receive is that there will be no more dilution from David Mitchery's side in the year of 2023. And so until 2024 hits, you should assume that the insiders who aren't David are using up their last shares. And then once we start squeezing, David is going to do nothing to hurt the squeeze on the way up for this year. As far as January 2nd comes, depending on where the price is, depending on the price action we've already seen, like that will help me determine on whether like I start telling people, okay, like you might need to start taking profits and here's what we can do good with our money or whatever. But until the point that it looks like they've given us enough that everyone's selling, or until the point that 2024 rolls around and we're worried about the real possible dilution from David Mitchery, like whether it's so like there is an argument that I've held that they couldn't dilute over the 5 billion authorized shares. Everyone else is saying that when you do a reverse split, it gives you those shares back. And so if that is true, then that gives David potentially 4.5 billion shares to dilute. But again, I mean, we have him on video fucking evidence saying he will not sell a fucking share for the remainder of this year. So that tells me we have this year to do what we need to do and do what we want to do, and that the price goes as high as we want it to go, and we should want it to go high enough to make everyone wake the fuck up, and also fucking hurt the market makers, hurt the big boys, hurt the S&P 500. Like it needs to be so big, so powerful, so strong that the whole world knows that it was nothing but Mullen that made this happen. And obviously the lawsuit helps with all of that. So we shouldn't have too much trouble getting that narrative out there as the squeeze is happening and we're still pumping, because again, there's no more dilution. Dilution's gone as soon as the insiders that again are working against David Mitchery are gone. And so I'm excited for that moment. I'll wait for that moment. I'm here for the moment. And the 52-week high of the SPX tells me when that moment gets started, and it looks like it's going to be this week. Is it possible it takes till next week? Sure. But I don't think we got to wait till December. And again, as far as price goes, hold as long as you possibly can until we see some price action that tells us maybe it's time to take some profits. That would be my best advice, because I'm sure people in AMC were taking profits on the first red day on that Thursday with $28 a share, because a lot of them bought at $2 or $3 a share. So they didn't think that like they needed $60 or $80 a share. But yeah, I mean, in order for them to get retail to sell, they got to make it look like retail has already won, like they did with AMC. So that's what I'll say about the price action for now until we actually see some price action. But for the first week of the squeeze, I'm just going to be all hold, 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 buy, 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 keep on buying options, whatever it is. Um, you can't even consider selling anything until we get an updated option chain with strikes as high as $100 or more. Um, yeah, but I'll be here to let you know what I think when stuff start actually happening. We got more people buying more calls. Let's see here. Does not look like it's updated on my side quite yet. I'm seeing 484. So Does anyone else see the volume on the option chain I'm talking about? Like currently, I see for the $5 strike, there's 484 contracts. Is it larger than that? And my side just hasn't updated yet. I assume so. Let's see. We got another speaker. What up, David?
Yeah, you said no new dilution. Are you referencing that to his statement he made on June the 23rd in the PR,
Um,
David?
yeah, but he also like it was one of the Cal Financial interviews.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's what I'm referencing.
yeah. What price level are you looking to take profits in Mullen when it goes up? Are you able to say that, or you want to say that, or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I just spoke like 5, 10 minutes on that, man. I just said
Oh,
that.
I was late.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You know what dollar
it's
amount?
all good. So I like
Okay.
basically what I've said is like if you watch other squeezes, for
Yeah.
example, the AMC squeeze, like the time that it started, it went up 20% one day, 20% the next day, 20% the next day, down 10% the next
Yeah.
day, up 40% the next day, and then 100% that following Monday. And on that Monday
Hmm.
was the day that I set a short bet on $38 puts. And
Yeah.
AMC in a single day dropped to $38 and I made 700% on the way down, not the way up,
Do
you
you
know? And so
sell 100% or sell a certain percentage?
well, I didn't sell.
The,
Well,
the
I didn't like. I mean, AMC is
yeah.
different because like there's a whole story behind
Yeah.
that. But the point that I'm trying to get at is I didn't sell because it hit a certain price. I didn't bet that it was going down because it hit a certain price. I was following the price action that led me to believe the
Mhm.
way the price moved would convince retail to sell. And so because I
Yeah.
saw
Do you think
something,
the do you think the HYMC investment 10% of the company's assets, HYMC was a good investment?
no, I do not.
No, I don't think
I
so.
would stay away from Adam Aaron at all costs. That guy's already sold his soul, and like unlike Mullen, they still have infinite amount dilution. So I
Mm.
would avoid that at all costs. I would avoid anything but Mullen at all costs. And I mean, the only other thing I would even potentially hedge is shorting the market, just because.
You said you'd avoid Mullen or AMC at
No,
all
I'd avoid
costs.
AMC and Adam Aaron. Mullen's the
Oh,
only thing I'd
yeah, that's
buy
what you meant.
outside of potentially
AMC.
shorting like the S&P 500. Like I would only buy Mullen, but I would understand why somebody would want to short
Yeah.
the indexes because when Michael Burry comes out and every single time he said he had a short bet,
Mm.
like he was
Yeah.
wrong. He never came out and said, I'm taking a step away, I'm backing out. And then now you got multiple hedge funds coming out saying they're never shorting again. They've lost all their money. That tells me it's like the market's about to get wrecked. But
Yeah.
if the
I put
market's
all
about
my
to get
mutual
wrecked,
funds in.
it's because Mullen's about
Yeah.
to explode, and you're going to make more money with Mullen on the way up than you would with the SPX on the way down.
Yeah, I
So
put all my investments back in the T-bills myself last week. I ain't taking any more chance on this global crap.
treasury bills aren't going to do you any good, man. Like
Oh, the
inflation's
T-bills won't?
coming, bro.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's safer than stocks. I don't know. T-bills are at least.
In what way?
Oh,
Like what are you using that logic? Where's that logic
I
coming
don't
from?
know though. Based on the dollar, U.S. dollar,
But you're
I guess the
saying that the
dollar would have
US
to go
dollar is
down.
going to hold its strength and there's not going to be any more inflation,
Well,
but that stocks are going to come down and like
well,
what
at least it's safer than stocks. I mean, you're looking at the market getting cut in half the first bomb that gets dropped on Iran, and then
I agree with that, but again, when the market gets cut in half, that doesn't like every time the market has a major plummet,
yeah,
the small caps are rallying.
yeah,
And so when you talk about the
well,
market, you almost make it sound like it's every stock, but it's not every stock. It's the
yeah.
stocks that they've put all their money into. Those
Put
are the
all their
ones that
money
lose.
into you talk about like the Microsofts that are all in the mutual
Exactly.
funds and
Microsoft, Apple,
yeah,
Tesla, they're all getting wrecked, no
yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, all got like PE ratios of like 2,000 and stuff, or 200. And yeah,
But but the point is that the SPX is literally less than 2% away from its all-time highs, and every time it does this,
yeah,
it ends up getting wrecked. Like there's stocks that go crazy, and I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
from the logic and the math and everything that we see around this world, and where the people that spend their life hating on Mullen stock, even though they don't like supposedly aren't getting paid
Um.
for it, and they aren't investors, it's like none of that makes sense. And so when
Yeah.
all of that becomes a thought in your mind and you're thinking I'm gonna go to treasury bills because we know that the stocks are coming down because all the stuff that we're seeing right now, well, doesn't that kind of push you towards rather than treasury bills being Mullen? Like I just don't understand, like, or are you saying you already have Mullen but as much as you're willing to get?
Well, yeah, I keep mulling as like a side investment, but I don't invest like 99% of my assets in mulling.
I mean, I can appreciate
Come
that, but
on,
the cool thing is
But
if you're following the space call and we're talking about this option chain, this $5 strike,
yeah,
like you can take five
yeah,
percent of your assets and you could put it into that option chain, and you would literally be
yeah.
in a position if you put 100% of your assets into the stock of Mullen, and not only
Have
that,
you
you would.
been first reverse? Well, I've only been in it for about 5 months. Right after the first reverse.
Well, I mean, as far as the
How
reverse
long?
as far as the reverse splits go, here's what you got to understand. The first reverse split happened, and I was telling everyone the
Hmm.
market's going down, like Mullen's going down. Don't buy, freaking buy puts. Like I was screaming this on Twitter, and every person that's pumping Mullen with more than 1,000 subscribers were all mocking me and saying, like, "What are you talking about? We love Mullen. We're buying Mullen. What? Like, what are you talking
Well,
about?"
yeah. I
And then
mean,
2 weeks
it's not
later,
the
it dropped
reverse that
ninety
makes
percent.
the yeah.
Well, so this is the first
It's
reverse
not the
split. Hold
reverse
on,
that
hold
makes the
on, Mo.
stock goes down.
I
Yeah.
understand that. It's not the reverse split that makes the
It's
stock go down,
it's
but
the
the reverse
dilution.
split
Yeah.
allows their current dilution to be worth more than it was the day before because it doesn't affect their shares. They haven't diluted yet, but it increases the price per each of those shares. And so
Yeah.
basically, the price going down was guaranteed because we knew that they were a dilution machine and we knew that they still had more dilution. So when I come out and I tell the world that like it's going down and everyone that supposedly was on my side for the last year like starts mocking me and say like trying to get people to buy at the worst possible time, and then we go to the second reverse split, and in this reverse split it does get approved, but they announced that a ton of people voted no. They didn't give us the exact
Hmm.
numbers of who voted no, but they announced that it did get approved. But then as it gets approved, David Mitchery literally does a 9-1 when he could have done 100-1. So if you ever had a doubt in David Mitchery, that should have been the moment where you realize
Well,
David could have done
the
something
reason why
worse
he
to
did the
us,
9-1
and
was
he didn't.
yeah,
And so he
he
did
had to
the
stay compliant with Nasdaq. And that's why he did the 9 instead of 10-1. He had to stay below 250, which is smart. You want to
no, it
stay on
was
Nasdaq.
genius. It was
Yeah.
great, and it showed
Oh
that
yeah.
he was on our side. But then we get to the
Yeah.
third one, and so on that second that second RS vote, they
Hmm.
had one share on the SEC filing that was worth 1 billion votes. And they just said this one share is worth 1 billion votes, and so that's how they rigged the reverse split vote on the second time. But this
Hmm.
third one coming up, they don't have that. It's not in the SEC filing. We already know retail
Hmm.
voted no a ton before, and retail's obviously united against the no vote. I mean, you just look on Twitter, like it seems pretty unanimous. But what I find interesting is that the same people that were mocking me about the first reverse split, the same people were out there pumping the reverse split, acting like it's a good thing. And now those people are the loudest ones against the reverse split. And so what that tells me is the reverse split's not happening, and they want to look like people that were heroes fighting the charge that led to the Mullen squeeze, and really they just have the script in front of their fucking face, and they're trying to collect the people that end up coming in, because every time a squeeze happens, like we have a lot of people invested in Mullen right now all over the world, but every time a squeeze
Hmm.
happens, 10 times the number of people that were ever invested in that stock come to look and see what's going on, who's saying what, why is the price up so much. And I'm telling you, all these people that are supposedly bulls for Mullen that hold the space calls and all this other crap, like all you got to do is listen to them about what they're saying after the squeeze, because a lot of them are about to expose themselves, saying it's too late, you missed the chance. And I believe as long as we're still in the 2023 calendar year, Mullen can do nothing but go up from here. And so that was the one of the, if you, as far as the price action, like anything below, like you got to look at the market cap. So every squeeze that's happened that's been a retail squeeze without a fundamental play behind it has gotten to a $50 billion market cap. So you should already be thinking in your head Mullen $50 billion market cap, which means $100 a share. Like that is just a retail squeeze. That doesn't mean that's
Mhm.
without a company behind it. Like it's like you're guaranteed that even if it was a fucking crypto. But now if the
Yeah,
fundamental play is behind the Mullen and we run to $100 a share and everyone sees that this $50 billion market cap and compared to the other EVs should actually be worth more because it is better than the other EVs because they have the better technology, they have the better lineup, they have the commercial line that nobody else is pursuing. And when you
yeah,
mix all
yeah.
those things in together, then
Mm.
you get the first retail squeeze that is actually a fundamental play along with a squeeze play, and that makes $100 seem light. And that's where it comes to the point where it's like, if I had to give you a price, okay, let's just say $100. But then it's like, well, if we hunt $100 next week, then there's no way $100 is my price because, like, I know that we're not going to get hit with any real dilution this calendar year, and we still got it all of
Right.
December to keep going, you know. And so for me, I'm going to be watching every single day, seeing the price action, seeing the volume, seeing what all the people are saying online, and by that, I'm usually able to put together a summary that ends up usually leading to truth. Like people can be mad at me because the squeeze hasn't happened yet, but if you go back and you actually look at my record of the times I started pumping, stopped pumping, started pumping, stopped pumping, like there are literal perfect moments where like at least 75% of the time I show up right as Mullen's running 1 to 200%, and had you bought when I showed back up, like good things happen. And so, if obviously if you didn't sell, then we always end up hitting new lows. So, like, I'm not exactly trying to take credit for it, but I am trying to take credit that, like, I'm able to read in between the lines of what the world is telling us versus what is actually happening. And when I read in between the lines right now, it says everything's fucking going down again. If it's this week, if it's not this week, it's got to be next week, just because of the SPX. The
Mhm.
SPX tells me we're about to hit 52-week highs any day now, and that is the best sign Mullen squeeze gets started.
What the options on the SPX?
No, the price. So we're less than 2% away from the 52-week high on the SPX. If you go back and you look at the GameStop squeeze, the
Mhm.
AMC squeeze, the multiple squeezes in between both of them, every single time they launched off, the SPX was at a 52-week high.
Okay,
Every single
thank
time.
you for your bond talk. So you got a
And so
range.
if you look at how the SPX is face ripping to its 52-week high, it is literally just like GameStop 2021 January, where it went up
I believe you.
500 points in the matter of 2 weeks, and it was at a record high, and then GameStop starts its show. And the reason they do that is because they're sending every stock up, so everyone thinks that it's risk on, just throw your money in the S&P 500, you can't lose, and then the real stock takes off.
Oh.
And they're trying to get people the
What was
money
the
into
price
every
of
other
or market
possible
cap of
thing first.
GameStop? Yeah.
Same reason why
What was
Bitcoin's
the?
at a 52-week high is because like they're trying to get everyone's money in all the other investments so that they're distracted from the real investment. And then when the real investment takes off, like they're going to change the narrative that it's too late to get in. But I think this is the first time where it's finally not going to be too late.
Yeah, there were squeezes and stops and starts on GameStop. You remember what the price or market cap was of GameStop when it started squeezing?
So it like basically in 2020 it went from $5 to $30, and then by the time we got to 2021 January, it went from $12 to $40 before it took off to
Oh, okay.
$483. And there was
Well,
roughly about
twelve
50
hundred and what?
million shares outstanding.
$1,284.
Well, there's
Oh.
roughly 50 million shares outstanding in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of
Oh,
2021.
only
So
50
you could
million.
assume at $12 a share, it was somewhere around 600 million market cap, maybe closer to a billion if they diluted a little bit.
Wow.
But then as it ran to $40, obviously you're sitting around a $2 or $3 billion market cap. And then as it ran to $483, I think it peaked right around $50 billion market cap. And so all of that kind of includes the dilution that we didn't really get to see, but they show you can go back and look at the history of GameStop's market cap, and it got somewhere between 40 and 50 billion as a high. But again, there's no fundamental play behind it. Um, let's go ahead and let Yobani say something.
So I tried to run the math real quick, and at the current stock price, it's almost a 25.50 percent increase that the price would have to get to for those contracts to make to hit that $5 strike. And these are the January 2024. I understand buying them at the 1% is a great price increase, and you can go time. It's worth
Yeah, I mean, you're
and
breaking
making
out a
off of
little
it for
bit.
those that are able to buy them right at 0.1 cent.
Yeah, you'll never be able to get an option contract for less than 1 penny a contract. So that's why I'm pumping that one. You're saying something like it's 2,000% out of the money. Um, And for me, that means nothing, because if Mullen squeezes, it squeezes, and if it doesn't, then everything's worth nothing. Just like when I was pumping options back in 2022, if people were just buying stock and holding, like they literally $1 million turned into $100 already. So as far as the idea of like risking the money, I don't really see a difference. Either Mullen squeezing or it's going to zero, and for me, it's guaranteed squeeze. So if it does squeeze, like based off the market cap levels that we're starting at right now, like you got to understand, AMC goes from $12 to $60, and it went from a $5 billion market cap to like a $40 billion market cap. And
Mhm.
so with Mullen starting at $100 million market cap, when it squeezes, when it goes up 1,000% from here, it's only going to be $1 billion market cap. And so if it goes up 1,000%, there's a 0% chance that doesn't get grab the attention of all the people that have been adding Mullen to the watch list for years and years and years. Been the number one added ticker to the watch list for 2 years now. And when you see the first real rally, like in all this 2 years, we've never seen Mullen go up more than 100% in a single day, not one time. And so
Yeah,
when
I
it
think
goes
I
up,
think the highest I've seen is
when it does
76. Yeah.
start going up, like all those people watching, they are going to join us. And unfortunately for the market makers, because they put the market cap so low, by the time the FOMO comes in, it's not the same as it was with AMC, where they have the ability to dilute and pressurize it and turn it into this thing where they can manipulate the squeeze into convincing people to sell. Like Mullen's market cap is so low that if any of the percentage of FOMO that's ever hit any squeeze in the past hits Mullen within the first 1,000% of it going up, like the FOMO's gonna it's just gonna keep sending it. So I think the first day we're gonna see much more. Like I think the first day of the squeeze will be above the $5 strike.
Do you believe that they're with retail play
I'm sorry, man. I
lottery
can't
ticket?
hear anything you're saying. Like every other word's getting broken out.
Sorry, bad signal out here. Do you think that there's enough sentiment at the moment between retail to even want to play that lottery ticket chance?
100%.
It seems that the community is divided at the moment.
Nah, the
If we're
community is
being
greedy. I mean, the community is divided on whether the squeeze is going to happen, just because everyone's been saying the squeeze is going to happen for forever and it's never happened. So, I get that there's tons of people out there that just don't believe, but all of those like negative sentiments get crushed the second Mullins up over 100% in a day, in my opinion. The second that it starts running for real, I think people will know exactly what's happening because they've seen it before.
yeah, it does fall on the company also to kind of spark that fire. I just haven't seen it yet. I think like you said, we haven't seen it go up 100% yet. At the highest I recall seeing it was like 76%.
We've
But
seen
it also
GameStop and
corrected very.
AMC go up over 100% 3 or 4 different days each. And we've never seen it once with Mullen. And we've seen way more volume on Mullen than any of stock in history. We've seen way more volatility on Mullen than any stock in history. And yet we've never seen a 100% day. And yet, if you go and you look at all the other stocks, they got plenty of moments where they did more than 100% in a day. So I think that is a signal that will definitely, if we see 100% a day, I think it'll be enough that people will be like, wow, maybe something's finally happening. And then obviously, if a little FOMO comes in and it just sets off fireworks, then it's game over from there. And if it all starts with David Mitri announcing 150 million shares purchased with his 20 million buyback, and then yeah, like that's just that's going to be a huge fucking call to retail investors, in my opinion.
Right.
Um, yeah, if you guys are just joining, the best thing you can do to help a squeeze happen is to buy options. But what I will tell you is if we look at the option chain, people bought enough options so far that it has actually increased the $5 contract strikes from 1 penny a contract to 2 pennies a contract, which means we have achieved victory for the moment. And as people stop buying those contracts, it will settle back down. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be end of the day today. But anytime you see a 1 penny contract on that January 29th, 2024 option chain, you should be trying to get as many of those contracts as possible, because that is what gets people interested in buying stock. Is they know nobody's buying long ridiculous calls except for retail. And when they see retail start loading up on an option chain, it gives them faith to buy stock, because they don't buy options, but they do watch the option chains to see when they want to buy stock. So I appreciate everyone today showing up, because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've already accomplished victory by buying enough contracts to send it back up to 2 cents a contract and make them prove they don't want us YOLOing as much as we can on that option. Yeah, I'm here for it, people. I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too.
Yeah,
I
on
got a
that,
question.
on
Oh, go
that
ahead.
1 penny contract, say like if you spent 1 penny, what, by $5, that would be, you could, I've never bought, played with options,
Yeah. So this is
so
how it works. So one contract, as long as you're buying the right option chain. So like there's like if you look on my that that
yeah.
that post that I have up on the top of the nest.
Yeah,
Um,
all options are worth $100. I mean, 100 shares.
well,
Yeah.
except for there's special option chains on the MULN chain. So you make sure you stay away from the special ones. And they're all worth, like, every single strike's worth 1 penny, and it's because they give less than 100 shares per contract. So make sure you're buying one of the real option chains. But at January 19th,
What
2020.
ask is what's the risk on that 1 penny if you spent 1 penny
Well, so
for
let
what,
me, yeah,
say,
I'm gonna
100?
go into it, man. Hang on. So if you bought a $5 strike for 1 penny a
Yeah.
contract, it's actually $1.50, because it's worth 100 shares. And so that $1.50 is like, just think about that $1.50 and what could you
Mhm.
throw into that for shares right now. And so at 20 cents a share, $1.50 would buy you like 7 shares, right? 7, 8 shares. So you can
Mhm.
either buy 7 or 8 shares right now, or you can buy this one option contract worth 100 shares. And so you're getting basically 10 times the factor on your money for profits. And what I mean by that is, if you were to throw in $1.50 on MULN stock price right now, it runs to,
Yeah.
let's just say, $10. So it's 50x its money. Your $1.50 is now
Mhm.
worth 55 or $60 or something, maybe $70.
Is that for this coming Friday?
No, no,
The
no.
one
No, it's
penny?
January 19th, 2024
Oh.
expiration.
Hmm.
And
Well, that
so,
gives you a little
hold
bit
on,
of
let
time.
me finish. So this
Mhm.
100 contracts that you have, when MULN goes to $10, your profit is the $5 strike you bought at, and then anything above that. So $5 to $10, you take the 10 minus the 5, you get $5 in the money. So your $5 times that by your 100 shares is worth $500. Where if you would have put that same
Oh.
$1.50 into MULN stock right now and it runs to $10, instead of your $1.50 being worth $500, your $1.50 would be worth $50, maybe $70.
Okay. I mean, as far as the risk go, what if it stays at 18 cents?
Then
Would you end up owing money?
if it stays below $5 by January 19th, you lose all $1.50. The $1.50 turns to
Oh.
zero, and you just
Okay.
get nothing back.
Oh, so that's all you lose, just the
You
dollar
can
fifty
never
you
lose
end up.
more than what you put in, as long as you're buying the option. You can only lose more if you're selling the option. So
You're talking about
yep,
just a straight call option
yep.
for $1.50.
So
Oh.
right now, like, we've bought 1,000 of them today, and so now it's
Mhm.
at $2. So it costs you $2.50, because there's a 50-cent charge per an option you buy.
Yeah.
But the point is that when we open up again tomorrow, it's
Oh.
probably going to be back down to $1. And every
Yeah,
time that you
on
buy
my
it, they
yeah.
send the price up a little bit to get people to stop buying it. But as soon as the volatility slows down again, it's going to drop back down to $1. And the reason I'm doing this space call is to get as many people to buy those as possible.
Yeah, in my brokerage account, it says I'm only able to trade like sell calls. Like you know, you have
That
to have
just means you
stock in
need
the
to
first
upgrade
place.
your account. If you call
Oh,
them
to
and
a
ask
margin
them,
account.
no, you don't have to go to a margin account. It can be a cash account. You just have
Yeah.
to upgrade to, I think, a level 3 to be able to buy options.
Oh, how do you have to meet some kind of certain qualification to do that, like income
No,
or?
nope. You just tell them that
Oh,
you found somebody who's teaching you about options and you want to be able to
oh,
buy options every once in a while. And they'll ask you to fill out this little survey that says you have money, you're willing to, you know that you understand the risks of what you're trading and you understand you could lose money and all this other stuff.
yeah,
And as long as you're willing to sign that document, then they have to give you the right to trade options.
yeah. You kept mentioning $1.50, and we were talking about a penny. Where did that fit in with each other?
Yeah. So if it shows 1 penny per option, you have to times that
Mhm.
by 100. So it's actually $1 because
Right.
so that's where the 1 penny to $1 comes from. But the 50
Yeah, you have
cents,
to buy 100
but there's a
shares.
50
Yeah.
cent charge from the broker every option you
Uh,
buy. So if it's
oh,
actually $1, then it's gonna be $1.50.
oh. So the dollars for the 100 shares, and then the 50 cents is for the fee they charge.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I understand now. Okay,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and that's just for the $5. What do you mean by the 2 cents?
Well, so if you
Oh,
look at
you
the
said it
five
was
dollars
worth 2 cents today.
Yeah, well, no. If you look at the $5 strike, it was one cent a contract today, and
Mhm.
after a
Yeah.
thousand contracts have been purchased, it's now up to 2 cents. So basically, as you buy it, they raise the price.
Hmm.
Um, and but it's like a temporary raise. It's not a real raise. It
Oh,
has nothing to do with the like.
yeah,
It's supposed to be manipulated by the stock price, but it's right now being manipulated by the buying volume. And so
yeah.
even though it's at 2 cents right now, it's about to drop back down to 1 penny after it hasn't been bought for a while. And so whether it's the end of the day today or tomorrow at open, like you're probably going to see that $5 strike at 1 penny a contract again.
Hmm. And what's the next price level below the five
Like
on
if
the
so, if you just
January?
look at that tweet that I have posted at the top, it shows the option chain. And
Mhm.
there's a $5 strike, then there's a $4 strike, then the $3 strike, then the $2 strike at 2 cents a
Yeah.
contract. So it has the $3 and the $4 strike at 4 cents and 3 cents, but it has the $2 strike at 2 cents. So if you wanted to buy and you weren't willing to wait for the 1 penny contract, then you would go to the $2
Hmm.
strike and buy the $2 contract because you want the smallest strike for the same amount of price. Like I'd never buy a $5 strike instead of a $2 strike if they were
Hmm.
both 2 cents a contract. Does that make sense?
Well, how much is the $2 in January costing right now?
Well, so the $2 strike
That
was two. Let's see what it says right now.
I think it
So,
says 3 cents at the
so right
moment.
now it says
three
3 cents a
cents. Oh,
contract, but this morning it was 2 cents a contract. And so again, if you just give it some time, it'll come back down, especially
yeah.
tomorrow at market open. If we look at the SPX, it actually is running some more right now. So we are at where are we at? We're at 45.42. And 46.10 is the
Oh.
52-week high. So we are literally $68 away from a 52-week high. That is less than 1.5%. That's crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So again, the point is get the cheapest strike you can get for the cheapest amount per so lowest strike for the cheapest amount per contract is the most logical way to do it. But if you ever get an opportunity to buy a 1 penny contract, like no matter what strike it is, even the $5 strike, it's going to pay more than any other strike if that strike sold to you for 2 cents a contract. So like if you could buy the 50-cent strike at 2 cents and you could buy the $5 strike at 1 cent, if we go to $10, that $5 strike makes more money than the 50-cent strike. One contract to one contract.
Yeah. But what's the most heavily bought dollar amount on the call right now on the January? Is it the
Um,
$5?
If you just look at the total options, it looks like there's 17,000 contracts on the 50-cent strike, 13,000 contracts on the $1 strike, 10,000 on the $1.50 strike, and 10,000 on the $5 strike. And then not much on the $2, $3, or
Oh,
$4 strike.
But you know, bird in the hand is worth two in the feather. Why don't you just buy the $2 one or something? You got a better chance of hitting that. And I don't
Because
know. That's just
that's
my,
not how squeezes work, and it's about the setting up the best chance of making the most money.
yeah.
Again, like if you look at Mullen Squeeze, it started at $5 billion market cap before the squeeze. So we were at $12 a share May 19th, and it was a $5 billion market cap. We ran to $72 at a max high for roughly a $40 billion market cap, and in that period, the inside so Adam Aaron diluted 50 million shares from the dilution, the last remaining shares they had. They only had like 15 million left they could ever dilute. And then if you go back and you look at all the insider selling between May 21st or May 22nd to um the end of June, it's literally every single insider selling every single share they have all the way up, and it was using dilution, using insider shares, everything, selling at the absolute highest prices to get the price to not keep going up. Where with Mullen, if we run 1,000% right now, the market cap is going to be $1 billion. And so at the same time, when AMC ran up only 500% and retail threw in $1 to $2 billion that got like beat by the dilution and the insider selling and didn't cut, like we didn't get the extra squeeze we were fighting for. Like when you look at Mullen, when we go up 1,000%, we're only $1 billion market cap. When that same money comes in, that money's going to be trying to buy the entire company that we're not selling, because ain't nobody here selling at $1.50 or $2 or whatever 1,000% gains is.
Hey, guys, what do you think about comparing Mullen to Lucid? You know,
I mean, I think that you're gonna get a lot of EVs pumping with Mullen, but I think you're gonna see probably
yeah.
1,000% gains in other EVs, and you're gonna see hundreds of thousands of percent gains in Mullen.
Hmm.
Like the reason, like when GameStop squoze, when AMC squoze, there was 100 other stocks that nobody ever heard of that were all squeezing with it. And it was because when retail comes in, they don't want everyone just focusing on the one squeeze stock and throwing all their money in the one stock that happens to be going up as the rest of the market's going down. Instead, they send off 100 stocks, they send out all their influencers to talk about everything but the one that matters, and they try to separate the FOMO that's coming into the new cycle of squeezes that's happening. But if you've been watching the cycle of stock market squeezes, you know that there was always only one stock actually squeezing, and that stock always did the best out of the ones that people were actually pumping and ones that actually had option chains. Like they'll create these fake garbage stocks like HKD where there's no one shorting it and there's no option chain, and they'll send it up to like ridiculous numbers, but like so little of retail ever touched it, and retail gets in way late and then they crash the price. And that's what they do every cycle of stock squeezes, is they set up all these distractions so that when the real one's squeezing and the FOMO starts coming in, they try to get the money spread out between 100 different stocks rather than just that one stock. And we're here trying to get people to realize that Mullen is that one stock and don't fuck with the other shit. Mullen at
Got a
19
question for
cents
you.
only down 1%. That's pretty cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you looked at GoEV and what they've been doing since last week as far as price action? Do you think that they'll be able to zoom past what GoEV is doing right now?
I haven't. I did see a couple people post about some big stock squeezes. Is GoEV one of them? Let's see what it's doing. I mean, it's only up what? Like today it's up 23%, but its low is 22 cents and now it's at 37 cents, so it's not even up 100%. Like again, that's the perfect example of a distraction stock. Like GoEV is the perfect example of trying to get somebody who thinks that GoEV is what Mullen is, and it's not. Like GoEV has not gone through the dilution that Mullen's gone through. GoEV has not gone through. They've probably done a reverse split or two, but like there is no retail movement around GoEV. Go try to find me in the last 2 years the hundreds of thousands of views and interactions based around this stock, and I guarantee it does not exist. And so like a squeeze doesn't come from the company itself. A squeeze only happens when retail unites around it and forces it to happen and forces a company's success. Like we
So
never.
you're focusing your attention then. Sorry, you're focusing your attention right now then at where the retail masses are
Right.
meeting up at or
Retail hasn't
congregating
shown
around.
anywhere. Like the only thing that gets me excited is when a company starts announcing that they're going to do dilution announcements. Like that's when I know the war has began, and soon as we beat their dilution, we can squeeze. Now, obviously, with Mullen, they voted for dilution, extra dilution twice, so it kind of changed everything. But there's no other stock in the last 2 years that has consistently offered new offerings and have proven to be able to sell those offerings to retail. It doesn't exist. There is nowhere where, like, if you go and you look at the ownership of Mullen, it will say other, which always represents retail. As I mean, in the last 2 years, it's always been between 60 to 80%. Sometimes it's as high as 90% back in July 2022. And so those patterns of dilution, consistent dilution over and over until they're basically running to zero, the the pattern of just the retail social sentiment, the pattern um, of the attackers against the stock. So not just the social sentiment of retail showing they like the stock, but the opposite of people coming in and acting like it's their fucking livelihood to talk bad about a stock. Like all of those things only exist for Mullen for 2 years straight. There's not another stock in the whole fucking, like AMC's the closest next example, but AMC's got rigged in such a bad way that I won't even like. AMC's probably gonna have a little squeeze just because they've been manipulated so bad too, but it can't compare to what's happened to Mullen. Nobody's been treated worse than Mullen, and no one deserves more than Mullen. And so, for me, you're never going to hear me talk about another stock other than Mullen because that's all the data points to Mullen. Everything that I could possibly want to see exists within one stock, and it is Mullen.
What about Naked before it became Centro?
I mean, I don't. I remember Naked back in GameStop days, and it didn't have an option
Hmm.
chain. And I don't mess with stocks that don't have option chains. They're,
It
they're,
did have an option chain, but it pretty much got diluted and gone to hell since. It pretty much just followed the same path that Mullen has. They're pretty much
but again,
lined up
there's no
similarly.
There's no proof to show that retail owns 60, 70, 80% of Centro. There's no proof to show that they've been buying every dilution offering for 2 years straight. Mullen, you can go back and you can look at the offerings and you can look at how much has been diluted, and you can see every single month for 2 years straight, retail has bought more than they sold. I can't look at, I've never seen another stock do that since AMC days. Mullen looks like it's about to go green today. That'd be cool. Well, I think I'm pretty satisfied. It looks like we got another speaker. After this last speaker, I think we're gonna call it a day, and I'll probably be back tomorrow if the 1 cent contracts come back. But I'm pretty satisfied that they gave us the 1 cent contracts, and we bought enough until they moved the price up. And I just gonna keep doing this every day, and as long as I see 1 cent contracts, until the squeeze happens. And I think it's the best thing anyone could do if they are trying to get people to buy more stock. The best thing you can do is buy more options. But go ahead, D Glass.
Yeah, is the okay? So I bought the $5 strike at 3 cents. Is that going to pay the same at $10 as the 1 cent?
Nope, 1 cent would pay more. So think about this. If I know at the let's just assume $5 strike, and let's assume 3 cent a contract versus 1 cent a contract to start with. So we'll do a $1 strike and a $5 strike. So if a $1 strike is 2 cents a contract, okay, the second cheapest price you could ever get, and the $5 strike is 1 cent a contract, and Mullen squeezes to $10. Well, the $1 contract into $10 is going to be worth $500 because you have one contract buying 100 shares, and now it's $5 in the money, so it is worth $500. Now, at the $1 strike, you're buying for 2 cents a contract, So or $2 a contract. So we're going to assume in order to buy the same amount, we're going to do a half a contract, even though that's not possible. So you get 50 shares, right? Instead of 100. Well, at the $1 share to $10, you're now $9 in the money. So you take the 10 minus the 1, you get 9. 9 times the 50 is $450 of profit. So at $10 a share, the $5 strike would have made $500 of profit, and the $1 strike would have made $450 a share or per the 50 shares. Now, if you go to $20 a strike, the difference only becomes larger in benefit of the $5 strike. So at $20 a strike, you're now $15 in the money. So you're now worth $1,500, where your 50 contracts at $1 strike is now $19 in the money, but at $50 is only worth like $900. So the higher it goes past $10, the more the $5 strike at 1 penny a contract would pay than any other strike at any other price. No matter what happens, as long as it goes above $10, the $5 contract at 1 penny a contract will be worth the most, so long as you weren't able to buy a smaller strike for 1 penny a contract. And at that point, if you're talking about a $4 strike or a $5 strike at 1 penny a contract, like no matter how high you go, that $4 strike is never going to make more than $100 profit over the $5 strike. So now you're just counting pennies. So the point is, if you see the opportunity to buy the $5 strike at 1 penny a contract, you should just throw in everything you are willing to throw in, because it's never going to get cheaper and it's never going to be a better opportunity.
So at 3 cents in comparison to 1 cent at $10, what would the dollar amount be total between each? Like, what's the difference? Like, what would $5 strike at 3 cents pay in dollars in comparison to the 1 cent at 5 strike?
Yeah, so if $3 per 100 at 5, if we hit $10, then the $5 strike would be worth. I mean, now you're talking, because it's still worth the $500, but now you paid $3 for it, so it's roughly 200x in your money. Where the $1 contract into the $500 profit is 500x your money. So you're getting about half the. I mean, a little less than half the return.
Wow, that's a mistake I made. I should have waited for the 1 cent.
Well, I mean, I
That's a
got
big pay
200
difference.
like my brother has 200 contracts on that $5 strike that he bought for 13 cents a contract fucking 2 months ago. So, like, everyone makes mistakes and it's fine, but like the point is if you're going to average down, if you're here to think about it, like, wait for that 1 penny a contract and understand that it never gets a better opportunity than that. Like, it's the best possible opportunity, and if you think we're in squeeze mode, if you think the S&P 500 running to 52 weeks high is the sign that the market is in squeeze mode, and if you believe like I do that if we're in squeeze mode, Mullen's the only stock that's actually ready to be squeezed, then yeah, just look for that $1, 1 penny a contract, and fucking it's time.
Well, I guess I can't complain, because if it does go to 10, that's money that I didn't have for such a cheap amount. So
For sure. And if it
still
goes
a
to
good deal.
100 or if it goes to 1,000, like, anyone really gonna like be upset? No one's gonna be upset. But like, again, with the idea that the squeeze is upon us, that we're trying to make the best bet possible. Like, if I'm here giving essentially financial advice, like, the advice is that if all of it, the stars align, if we get what we think is possible, then there's no better way to make it happen faster than to buy options, and there's no better opportunity in options than what we're seeing as we speak. I mean, obviously it's up to 2 cents still today, but like, that was after we got 1,000 contracts in, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so the exercise date was in January. You said on the $5
Yeah,
in
but you
January
you
or
don't have
something.
to wait till the expiration date to exercise.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you because I don't know anything about options.
Well, so here's what I would tell
What?
you. If you're buying options, you shouldn't really be thinking about buying the options in forms of wanting to
Yeah.
exercise. So, in my opinion, you're buying options because you're upset as I am at the market makers who have turned Mullen
Mhm.
into this death spiral, and like, you want payback. And if you want payback, the only thing that guarantees your ability to take money from the rich as the price is moving up is to buy options. If we
Yeah,
go
but
up
you
and
have to. You have to exercise your option before the expiration date, right? Or you lose your money, your dollar
No,
fifty
no,
you
no,
had
no.
in
If
it or
you're in
something.
the money at expiration date, they will exercise it
Hmm.
for you. You don't lose the
How
money.
about if you're out of the money?
If you're out of the money,
You
it's
lose
worth
it then, right?
nothing. It's zero.
Right.
You lost
That's
your
what I
money.
thought. Okay, so that's the yeah. That's the bet you're taking. I just wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go in the money and you want to exercise at the expiration date, that's totally fine. But like my whole point is that when you're buying these options and the price is going up, like you should be more inclined to take profits from your stock than you should your options, just because like you're not going to be stealing the rich people's money with your stock, but you are going to be stealing the rich people's money with your option profits. And so as much as we can hold the options as the price is going up, the better, because I want to see rich people cry and say how unfair it is that they aren't able to rig the markets no more, and because they aren't able to rig it, they lose everything. That's what I want. Um Yeah, so I guess we might just end this with the last talk about Lawrence Harge all over again. He came in yesterday to tell you that all EVs are a joke and that his scientific method of testing was getting four guys who were all fat as fuck, 250 to 300 pounds, and throwing them all in a little EV car and running it to 90 miles per hour to prove that the battery doesn't go as far as they say it goes and it can't pull weight and all this other bullshit, like, and just shitting on EV as general, and then saying that his technology is the best thing out there, and he's shown it to all these billion-dollar companies, and that they somehow want to work with him even though they aren't required to, because his stuff can't be patented, and so they can literally go work without him and just like do it, all of it without him, which is what rich people do all the time anytime something can't be patented. And it just, the fear that he's putting in and giving Fud Daddy the platform tells me something big's about to come, and they're going to try to control the narrative when it comes. And like I said, there'll be several space calls, but I will ensure that my space call will be going and preaching the truth while everyone else be lying to people. um I'm excited. The S&P 500 got me the most excited right now, and the $1 contracts, I do believe they'll be available again tomorrow morning. So get some money ready. Get ready to YOLO, because if you wait, you may not be able to get it, because as soon as someone else starts buying it, it goes back up. And you got to wait for it to come down again. So as soon as you see 1 penny a contract, just go for it, people. I'm telling you. Either the world burns and we all die before the end of the year, or MULN squeezes and we all start living a better life before the end of the year. Those are the only two outcomes I see. And ain't nothing tells me, like, I can't find nothing in this world that suggests that we're going in the dark ages. It seems like they're trying to make it look like it's the time, the worst time to be alive, but it's actually the best time to be alive. They wouldn't be showing all their power, flexing all their strength, and making the world hate them unless they knew that their time was short and that the people, like, good things are coming. It's just the way I see
Hey,
it.
Mark, I don't mean to interrupt you. I apologize for that. Do you think that okay, so MULN is obviously a EV vehicle company. So do you think that all the other EVs will just sympathetically squeeze as well first before maybe like AMC or these other industries?
Uh, I think that once the squeeze starts, any small caps that are going to run will run together. Very rarely do they allow you to jump from one investment to the other. Like, if you go back and look at when GameStop and AMC squoze, like, there was no opportunity to sell your GameStop profits and buy AMC at the bottom and ride that wave up too. Like, they squoze at the exact same time and they were following the same patterns. One might be going up more than the others, but typically once something starts squeezing, they all kind of run together. Now, before the squeeze, they'll do a bunch of little fake squeezes all over the place to try to get people thinking about other stocks. But once the squeeze starts, anything that was actually like some type of retail movement, they're all going to squeeze together at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that they did. There was some leadway where I noticed there was maybe a 1-2 day 1 to 2 day wait. And uh, like for instance, Workhorse ran up, and then several within time, SLS ran up. That's a biotech, and that ran up. And then Solo ran up. There was time to actually jump from one to the other, but the time was like really tight. It wasn't like you could just. You had to be like on it every day in order for that to work.
For sure. And but like even if you do, like, let's just say Mullen runs to $10 and you cash out and you jump into this one, like, you may get two, three, four, 500%, but I think Mullen's going to go and run to $100 right after that at the same time. And so it's like the whole idea of jumping the money, I don't like it. Like, we're here to start a MOAS, and a MOAS is the idea that retail chooses one stock and throws everything in it and tries to push that price as high as it can possibly go. And it's more than just about money, it's about exposing the corrupt. And so for me, like, money's just not a big enough factor to even think about jumping ship and trying to make the maximum profits every single day type of thing. I just don't see it that way.
No, I agree. I'm not going to be jumping out unless this thing goes. I mean, the basic math at about what 500 million outstanding shares, with the market cap of 40 billion. That's like $80 minimum, or right at the cap. So I'm looking for to go way up. I'll hold on to that, and if everything else is kind of lagging behind, that might be a little bit different of a story. But getting out early prematurely is just not part of my game.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I'll have a lot more opinions on what the stock price is going to do and all these different things after we get started. But for the most part, my main thoughts are like sell as little as possible until the end of the year, and um, sell as little bit as possible until the end of the year, and yeah, like until we see the actual price action every day and the volume and what everyone's saying on online with the biggest followers that people are listening to as it's squeezing. Like, I feel like we'll be able to draw some conclusions that will tell us about the coming volatility. And so I think it hurts us more to speculate on price today than it would on the days that it's actually happening and there's actually people showing up to see what is going on and why it's going on. And so yeah, I just think this is all going to be much more enjoyable as it's happening and much more easier to read. But yeah, again, for me, the whole idea of the S&P 500 at its 52 weeks high or almost is everything we need to know that we are right around the corner here. Right around the corner. In my opinion, it is before the December 15th vote.
Yeah, this could be very exciting. At the same time, it'd be kind of bizarre, like seeing all this stuff happen again. Like surreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be most interesting to see how because like 10 million people showed up from GameStop when the GameStop squeeze happened, and I guarantee all those people and more show up back up, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how the new people react. Like, I'm just interested to see who they listen to, what they like to hear, and all those different things. Because I feel like when GameStop first goes back on Reddit, and like there was a message that was going around, and by time I decided to start going and pumping the message and better explaining the same message that everyone was already excited about, like it seemed like the people were already gone. They had already given up. So they're all coming back though, and I'll be here saying all the things they like to hear. We'll see if it makes a difference. Well, I appreciate everyone showing up. We'll do this again probably tomorrow. See you guys later.